Hello and welcome to the Real Getters Podcast, episode 2. I'm Jacob Lawlor,
And I'm Jeremiah Secrest.
and we're here to get you real strategies for real success in real estate. And today we want to talk about the 3 action items you need to take today to make 2022 your best year ever in real estate.
That's right. We're really excited to talk about these things. And Jacob and I were just kind of talking a little bit about, what real estate agents do and what we do as salespeople to overthink these strategies. We talked about that a little bit last time. But really, these 3 action items that we think are really simple to take a step forward in the right direction in your business in 2022 and really start to grow your business. Maybe you had a successful year already, but you want to take it to the next level and increase that business by 25% or even 100%. I get a lot of people telling me that right now. But these 3 little steps, Jacob, introduce these 3 steps to our audience for us, and then we're going to dive into each one of these.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this is usually the time of year where we kind of talk about revamping our business and starting fresh and all of that. So we wanted to help simplify this whole process for you. And really, there's 3 main things that we think would really help set you up and running a lot quicker than the rest of the pack. So the very first one we want to talk about today is setting your goals. Because if you don't know where you're headed, you don't know how to get there. So the very first thing that we want to do is really focus on what are your goals for 2022, both personally, professionally, financially, spiritually, and everything like that. But to really plan out what it is that 2022 is going to be for you. So Jeremiah, I know that you talk a lot with your agents and business planning. And what's the best way you find for agents to be able to set goals and be able to implement?
Yeah, well, if we don't have a plan, we're not going to know what to achieve or what direction to go. Right? You always have to have a roadmap for success. And, through all out the years of goal setting and planning, business planning and things that we do, we've found, and many studies have found over the years, that if you write down your goals and you have vision of those goals, you're more likely to achieve those goals. So it's really a simple process. I do find that people overthink this, or they say, yeah, they set their goals, or I just want to increase my business, but they never actually write it down. So I'm going to suggest, and I suggest to all the people that I coach and mentor, start with simply writing your goals down and put some thought into it, right? You don't just say you want to sell 34 houses or whatever it is that you're selling out there. You can't just arbitrarily come up with a number or volume number. You want to do $100 million because that's what the top producer in your area does, is $100 million, and you want to be just like them. But why do you want to be just like them? So start with the goal setting, have the transaction number, have the volume number that you want to reach, but also understand what your why is. Why do you get out of bed every day? I know for me as a salesperson, as an agent, I woke up every day and my mantra was, I wake up unemployed every day. If I don't go to work today, I won't get an opportunity to make money tomorrow. So that was my mantra to keep me motivated, because that's what I needed for myself. But you have to find that every day. You have to know your motivation, whether it's family related, nonprofit, giving away money, giving back to your community, whatever it may be. Understand your why. Maybe you want to buy a new house or a new car. It can be as simple as that as well, but
Yeah.
understand that motivation. So that really goes into setting your goals.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm the same way when it comes to finding your why, or how it was explained to me. And what really stuck with me is that the reasons come before the results, right?
Yeah.
And most of the time, thank goodness, most agents are humble, right? When it comes to, well, I don't need to sell 100 homes a year, or I don't need to do that. And I've found that sometimes that's a really easy cop out, if you will, to kind of dial your goals back by saying you don't necessarily need that, because we all have that internal temperature gauge, right, of what we're worth, if you will. That sometimes I've found that many of us have to set goals that benefit others. Like, sure,
Yeah.
you don't need, nobody needs necessarily to make $1 million a year, but if you're a good person, you could do a lot of good with $1 million a year. Right?
Absolutely.
Imagine
It'd be very
if
impactful.
if you're already doing great things at 200 grand a year, what more could you do at $1 million a year? Who could you help? Whether that be, your future self, whether that be your son, your daughter, your husband, your wife, your dog, your whomever, really setting that intention and not just saying it's all for me. Cause I've flipped that around in my own personal life to say I'm being selfish.
Yeah.
If it's like I don't need it, well, that's fine. That's about you, but that's selfish. Who could you help? Even if it was Joe Blow down the street. But really setting that intention with what your goals are, like you said, writing it down. I'm a big believer, in the 1-3-5 goal setting method, which what is my one objective? Where are my three areas of focus and what are my five action items for each one? And backing those up with those reasons. What those moments when you want to quit. Because in sales, let's be honest, Jeremiah, like there are days we wake up and say, I don't feel like it today.
And I will tell you today, again, we're in Southern California. It was like hurricane weather outside in Southern California today. The wind's blowing,
Yep.
trees are falling over on my way into work.
Yep.
Branches were dropping on cars. It was raining. My phone was dead. I forgot it at the house. I had to turn around and go back. I'm like, man, I just got in this mind space of like, this day's going to be really bad. I
Yeah.
had to change that immediately. And,
Absolutely.
some of that's going back and focusing on the goals and like, why am I getting up every day to do this? Right? Why am I going out in this crazy weather to be here today and be on this call or try to motivate somebody else? And my purpose is bigger than any rainstorm will ever be. And it
Absolutely. I
helps me
love that.
helps me
I
check
love
myself on that, right? For all of our agents out there though, right? So we get a lot of people say, okay, great. I want to sell 10 houses next year. I want to sell 50 houses next year. Then the big question is, okay, I've set the goal, but then now what? How do I reach that goal? Right. So we talked about at the beginning of this, giving you 3 action items that are going to help you go into 2022, not overwhelmingly distracted or like, I can't do all of these things. I'm only one person. You are only one person. So we're trying to give you 3 little simple ideas here. That first one, start with setting your goals. You really have to do that, have an understanding of where you're going to go. The second thing that you should do to help get you to those goals, and it's how the world views you and sees you. So it's about improving your online searchability. So I told you earlier, Google yourself,
Yeah.
right? Just Google yourself. How does the consumer find you? How does the consumer interact with you? So step number 2 on this 3 list action item is to Google yourself and look for your online presence. And I know that Jacob, you're really great with this and creating content. Um, so what does that mean to you? Or how would you explain it to a salesperson on how to refine their presence online?
Yeah, absolutely. And it really does start with what you said, which is Googling yourself, because that is the number one search. That's the number one website, right? In the world. So making sure you leverage to find out when someone does check up on you, what are they showing? What are they seeing? I read a statistic that said that 62% of the consumer's decision about you is made before they ever meet with you, because consumers are now doing more background research on us as agents, well more than any before. And I know that sometimes agents that are really data heavy notice that whenever they're in their farm area and they put out a postcard or a flyer, they notice that all of a sudden their search results go up because people get the flyer and they go, who is this person? Right.
Yeah.
So making sure that when that consumer does research you and put in your name, what shows up, ensuring that you go into all of those free profiles that we are given on Zillow, on realtor.com, all those search third party syndicate websites, making sure your profiles are set up. Are all of the photos uniform? Or is one of them from 15 years ago, another one from 2 years ago, and this
Yeah.
one, your brokerage website? We all have incredible websites from First Team Real Estate. And, I'm surprised to see when some of our own agents don't have those. And I, immediately get on the phone and say, what happened here? So making sure that your profiles are all set up, but also all uniform. So there is that consistent branding throughout, or else it's just a hodgepodge of,
Yeah. You just hit the nail on the head, and that goes to the branding side of things and that consistency. Everything that we do And sales, we have to have consistency. We've talked about systems
Yep.
before, but that the consistency in your systems, but the consistency in your brand, you need to put out that same image. And the consumer shouldn't be getting conflicting information based on searching your name
Yeah.
in Google, right?
Yeah.
So to your point, it should be the same picture. And I go as far as telling everybody you should have the same bio on every website, on LinkedIn, on Yelp, on Zillow,
Yep.
realtor.com, your own website, the brokerage website. You need to have that consistency. And again, we need to think like Google, right? Why do people go to Google in the first place? They want information,
Yep.
right? So they're going to search for information. So you have to give information. You have to have bios. In addition to that, you need to be putting out a blog. You need to be putting out you need to be putting out relevant content and doing blogs and doing good LinkedIn posts and Facebook posts, social media stuff is extremely important. But it's simply start with the process. Don't get overwhelmed,
Yeah.
right? I don't know how to do all of these things. Don't get overwhelmed with that.
Yeah.
First step is just go to Google, type in your name, hit enter, and see what shows up. Yep.
Absolutely. And the good thing is having all consistent bios and photos, that just makes it easier because it's less things for you to have to figure out, right? You could just write one bio, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. So number one, it has uniformity, but also it's one less thing to have to plan out, right? But the first step is making sure that you are aware of what profiles you need to set up. So Google yourself to see what ones are set up already for you. Of course, we have a bullet point list that way that we give to agents to make sure that they're all present in there. But start with making sure, number one, you've claimed your profiles,
Yeah,
right? You
right.
have the correct information. I'm so surprised to see agents that have switched from one brokerage to another still have their old brokerage from 5 years ago on their Zillow profile, but they have their updated one on their realtor.com profile.
Yeah.
Right. So just doing an inventory. But the great thing is for the agents who are saying, I don't know which ones to look at or how to do that, making sure you leverage freelancers that we can help plug you in with and just have them do it for you. But no
Yeah.
matter who does it, whether it be you or using one of our first team freelancers, like our own personalized Fiverr, whether it's you or somebody else, somebody has to take that inventory and do that audit. And this is
Like
the perfect time of year to do that.
I can answer that question for you, Jacob, as far as where do I start? Which profile do I focus on? And I'm going to give you the answer. Actually, Google's going to give you the answer because after you Google yourself and you see the top 5 that show up, really focus on that first page, right?
Yeah.
Because that's where people are focused on and Google, that first page of search results.
Yeah.
So those top list of places that you show up in a Google search, those are the profiles that you need to be focused on because that's how the consumer is seeing you. That's how they're finding you, and that's how they're going to interact with you. So if your first profile that shows up is Facebook, you better make sure that Facebook profile is dialed in. Now,
Yeah.
it should be your website,
Yeah.
but if it's not, make sure those profiles are dialed in properly on that. So to answer that question, it's go where Google is going because
Yeah.
that's where the consumer is going.
Absolutely.
Right. So start with those.
I love that. I love that. And I've even had some agents go as far, which again isn't, like going as far, but making sure that it is your name easily findable. If it's a common name, making sure that you have a certain segment to be able to target those search queries where
Yeah.
even running a simple Google pay-per-click display ad of when someone Googles your name and it only charges you when they actually click on it. Or if it's like your name, real estate or realtor or insert your city here. Which speaking of cities, making sure that you have your correct service areas also in there. I'm surprised to see. I looked up an agent a couple days ago and they said that they were one city's specialist. And then on another website, they said that they were a different specialist. And it's, making sure everything is cohesive with your branding, with your imaging and your messaging, because
Yeah.
our brand in this business is the way that consumers feel about us. It's not just our headshot. It's not just our tagline, but it's that message that's being felt and how we make that community all come together, I think is really important.
And that's the number one place or the most likely place that brand is going to come through is going to be in a Google search, right? I don't care if your best friend has referred you to somebody to sell their house.
Yeah.
That best friend's friend is going to Google you before they call you to come over and talk to them about buying or selling a home. They will just Google you naturally. That's why these profiles are really important. And that you have some level of consistency. You should be 100% consistent in that.
Yeah.
But that your brand, your image comes across via the internet first.
Yeah.
And that's where people can quickly and easily see what you're about, and
Yeah.
that's where they're going to learn about you. So it's really, really important that you take those steps. I think very important.
Yeah.
Probably other than setting your goals and having a vision of where you're going to go, that's
Absolutely.
probably the most important thing you could do in going to 2022 if you don't do it already.
Absolutely.
Um, Getting into our third action item. So we have setting your goals, creating a vision for yourself. We have making sure you're dialed in from a Google search standpoint. Number three, what do we have for number three, Jacob?
Number three, you want to refine your lead generation strategies. It's a commonality whenever we're doing goal setting and business planning for agents to talk about, I want to add this lead generation source or add that lead generation source. And sometimes when you spread yourself out so far, you end up spreading yourself too thin, where you never truly master your best lead generation strategy. So we were talking a little bit off air, Jeremiah, about ways to really help refine and double down on your strengths and really get an idea of where is your business coming from? What items do you love to do? Like you were talking about before, where it's it's not always about having the 50 lines in the water, that
Mm,
it's important to have multiple lines in the water. But if you have a like 50 lines with no bait or hooks attached to it, what good is that line? Where you want to really refine what is it that you're already having success on and do more plays that have already been proven to work.
yeah.
So sometimes one of my favorite meetings to do with agents is going through each individual transaction one by one and saying, what was the source of that one? And what are you doing in that area? So if you're 80% of your business is coming from this area, but 80% of your time is being spread out across all of these, and only 10% in this one that's getting you 80% of the results, why not either not maybe cut these ones loose and focus this here, or at least spend less time here of developing fancy, social media posts and all that stuff. If you got no business from here and all of your business was open house, or if all of your business was sphere of influence, why not double down or increase what's already working?
Yeah, I think that's an important topic that you just brought up. And it's really about taking a real fair assessment of what you've done in the past. And a lot of people don't do that. And I think it's very important to your point is that what has been successful and looking at where did this business really come from? How did I generate these leads? Were they friends or SOI? Was it through an open house or was it a referral? Right.
Yeah.
And really assessing each transaction that you did last year, whether you did 100 transactions or 15 transactions, and seeing where that real success came from. And also, in addition to understanding where your business is already coming from, because I do believe you double down and you should double down on that. And that's where your efforts should go. Right. I've read articles and the numbers are, I'm paraphrasing here, but it is 7 times more expensive to generate a new lead than it is to work with a client that you already have, right?
Absolutely.
So why aren't we putting all of our efforts anyway into our SOI? Because
Yep.
they're the ones word of mouth advertising. They're the ones that are referring us anyway and
Yeah.
coming back to us for business because they already know and trust us.
Yeah.
So I think the answer for most agents is really SOI should be the main focus of your lead generation year in and year out, because that's where most of our business comes from in the first place.
Yeah.
But growing on that too. And the reason I've had so many agents come to me in the last 2 weeks because they're getting bombarded with advertisements. They're getting bombarded with salespeople trying to sell that silver bullet. We
Yep.
can get you more listing leads. We can get you more buyer leads. We can get you more closed transactions. And so next thing you know, I met with somebody today. She had 10 action items on her list to talk about her business planning. And we're looking at 10 different ways to buy leads.
Yeah.
And we ended up not talking about one of those and focusing on what she was doing well already and leveraging the business that she already had done, but she wasn't using that success to create more success. So simplifying your lead generation to me is really about, let's look at what you've done already and where does success come from. And maybe you've never sold a house before. You're like, well, I've never sold a house before. How would I look back at where you've had success in your career? Most people that get into this business I know have come from another job. So
Yeah.
where does that success come from? And I'll give you a little nugget here that I give all of my agents, right? About lead generation and getting commitment from your SOI.
Yeah.
All of you out there should be doing this. You call up your friends, family, coworkers, past clients. You call them, you say hi, check on them, see how they're doing, right? And ask them this one question. If you were to refer a real estate agent, who would you refer?
Love it.
Now, knowing that you're a licensed agent, they're probably going to say you,
Hmm.
right? That creates a commitment from that person to refer you business. So now they've made a promise to you to refer you business in the future. If they don't say you, it gives you an opportunity to know that
Yeah.
and to let them know, let them know that you're going to earn, you want to earn that referral business from them down the road.
Yeah.
And you follow that up with a thank you note.
Yep.
You call them, say hi, ask the question. If you were to refer a real estate agent, who would you refer? They tell you, you've created a commitment. Now you send them a handwritten thank you card with your business cards, and you just say, thank you so much for your future referrals.
Yeah. Yep.
All of our agents would do that. They would get more business in 2022.
I love that. I love that. And kind of what you were mentioning with the, being bombarded with sales calls and the constant shiny object syndrome that we all
Mhm.
fight, right? Because we're always looking for the better way. We're always looking for the easier way. We're always looking for, we oftentimes think that, it's just lead flow is the problem. And if I could just get more leads, then I would have a better sales business or better result at the end of the year. And one thing that was taught to me that I have found is to be abundantly true in this business is that there's the phrase, if you want to get rich in real estate, it's sell things to real estate agents.
Right. That one, wow, it's so true. It's so true.
And a lot of companies are doing that. And we are constantly bombarded with the daily distractions of the emails and the phone calls of, would you like to be on the supermarket
Yeah.
divider
Uh,
display ads and XYZ? There's everyone's pitching the easy button. And one of the things that I've always truly taken to the core of me is one of the huge reasons why we get paid such a large percentage as a comparison to what every other service like escrow, title, home warranty reps, all those different people that are vital to a real estate transaction. Why does the real estate agent get paid so much more per transaction compared to all of those? I've always had the belief that it's because we are the engine of the real estate business. We cause the transactions by interfacing with buyers and sellers. And if we outsource that to a lead gen service, that by nature will just degrade and it'll water down the commission amount, and then we wonder why we're only being able to secure a certain amount of money on our listings, or the buy side, the buyer wants a kickback of XYZ because the perceived value is, well, what did you really do?
yeah.
You maybe fielded a phone call and we're a walking, talking set of keys with our super key is a lot of the times what we're viewed as. So if we're not the ones going out into the marketplace, causing and creating these transactions, we're going to be seen as less valuable and in turn make less money. So
Well, the one thing I know true about this business, and it will never, ever change. I don't care what anybody else says, but this aspect of the business will never change. And that is, this is a relationship business.
yeah,
And if you're not out creating relationships within your community, within your marketplace, you're never going to be successful in real estate. So it really comes down to, don't get overwhelmed. Don't overthink this business. Take 3 simple action plans. Start with a vision, set your goals, right? Number 2, how is the consumer finding you and seeing you? Most likely through Google. So make sure your Google profiles are dialed in and your brand, your image is consistent through all platforms. And number three, simplify your lead generation. And that starts with focusing on what you're good at already. Or if you don't know what you're good at, do what you love and build off of that. If you love sending and creating ideas for postcards and marketing, focus on that and try to find the right postcard that might connect. If you love door knocking, do that. If you love doing open houses, build a system around that. If you love going to community events and connecting with people and networking that way, do that. Focus on what you love and you will be successful. Have passion in this business, sell where you're passionate, and you will have success. But take those three simple steps. There's a lot of depth to each one of those steps in growing, but it really is three simple steps to me to start that process forward in creating strategies and success and systems for success.
Absolutely. And once you do those three, head down, focus on executing throughout 2022 and not constantly changing and going to webinar after webinar and reading free ebook after free book and totally changing and doing constant start stops, because this whole business is built over time, in time. So making sure that we get these results by head down, focus, and taking action on the goals we set today, and you'll have a phenomenal 2022. But this was episode 2
All right.
of the Real Getters podcast, where myself and Jeremiah are bringing you real strategies for real success in real estate.
See you next time.